Okay, this video is a checklist about how to become a better student. I'll just show a couple slides, then I'm going to go through a checklist. I did give a talk not that long ago about how to crush any college class, and that's a good video to watch on study skills. What this one's going to be is I'll still briefly mention study skills, but I'm going to talk about some different things, a little bit of some new psychological aspects, because I end up coaching students. You know, friends and family, they bring me students, sometimes I got to coach them. Okay, in addition, I'm going to talk a little bit about health problems. I think this younger generation's got more health problems than the other generations. First of all, you just have to recognize what you're going through. It's a difficult struggle. You're just trying to climb up by your fingertips, you know, little hill after hill after hill, like Sadak here, you know, trying to get to the top of the mountain. And you just got to do it. It takes time, and it's kind of lonely and miserable sometimes when you're, you know, low man on the totem pole. When you first study a new subject, what happens is it's at first kind of exciting and fun because you see yourself, you know, when you're at this part of the game, you look at it, you can imagine rapid improvement, you know, the joy and glory of becoming an expert in the new field. And so you're real enthusiastic and motivated. But what happens by the time you're in grad school or the advanced classes in college, it's a long grind and it's kind of tedious and the progress is slow. This was all the highlights that you were exposed to initially. Here is just learning all the jargon, and this is a long haul and you just have to stick through it. It'll get better, but you can spend 3-4 years in this phase of just grinding it out, memorization, memorization, memorization. If you're lucky enough to have a good teacher or mentor, they can make it a lot more fun and teach you the good stuff, the beauty of it. But a lot of times, you know, kids don't know anybody. They're just in college or grad school. The professors stink, and you just have to grind it out. That's just how it is, and you're not alone. Everybody's in the same boat. Okay, and then you start getting more real-world experience, and it becomes a lot more fun, and you can see what's useful, and you can apply it. So just be aware it will get better, but it's understandable if you're a little bored and frustrated. Everybody is when they're kind of going through the grind. Okay. All right, I'll just show you a picture of myself when I was in college, and man, I was like the loneliest kid in the whole world. You know, I had gone from the Chicago area to Stanford, and I didn't know a single person. All I did was wrestle and study, sit around in my dorm room. I had a calendar just counting the days going back to see my girlfriend for Christmas. It was miserable, okay? It was like the loneliest I've ever been in my life, and it didn't last just 1 month. It lasted for years. So anyways, I just tell you that because, I mean, I'm glad I went through it, you know, and you just have to accept the fact you're just going to sometimes have to go through that. You know, if you're not used to being lonely, you'll learn how to deal with it, but just realize you're not alone. A lot of people have to deal with that. So I tell you that because a lot of people, that makes them weak to be unhappy, and what I'm trying to say is, you just have to accept it and deal with it, okay? Because loneliness is a big part of being a scholar, and you know, if you're lucky enough to be close to home and a supported environment and have some friends, lucky for you. But a lot of people are pretty far away from home and they're lonely, and I'm just telling you that's a common thing for students to have to go through. So you just got to go through it. Okay, you know, I went to med school. I graduated first in my class, got 99s on my board, 99 percentiles on my board schools in med school and residency. I wrote this one book here, Medical Students Guide to Top Board Scores, a bunch of study skills books. So I just let you know that I got a lot of experience talking about academics. Okay. All right, I'm just going to show you a couple study skills tricks. I'll even show you the book. So here was my radiology residency book. I was done with like a 4.5-hour test, an hour and 10 minutes with a perfect score. So this is the book I use. I'll show you that one. This is illustrated condensed notes, and that's where I wrote mnemonics. So here, let me magnify the screen here, and I can just show you the book. So this is my radiology residency book. I used it so much I had to tape it. It was falling apart. I would write my own notes in the margins so that everything would be there. It's an outline format book. You want an outline format book because when you got an outline format, it's easy to go back to it and find everything. Back when I was a young guy, there wasn't even an internet availability. But by having everything in one spot, I could always find everything quickly. Because you're running to crunch time the last couple of weeks before an exam. And I would add my own diagrams and pictures to whatever wasn't in the book. So I call that regular condensed notes, outline format condensed notes. These are illustrated condensed notes. You see I tabbed all the key sections here, and then I would just tape my own. So I took some book that I thought was kind of a crappy book, and I just taped my own pictures in there. This is for head and neck imaging, so all the anatomy of the head and the neck, you know. all the nerves, the lymph nodes, and everything else that goes into it. So this is what I call illustrated condensed notes. So for some classes, this is good. And the reason I would do this is because there were good images that I need to know from multiple different sources, and I wanted them all in one place. So I would actually just rip them out of the other books and the journals and put them all into one place. And so then I had everything here in this location, and that helped me to get real good at anatomy. For other things, like when I was teaching myself, I would buy one of these little blank notebook things. You can use it. You can check your page with this thing, and I would again tab the pages, and I would put my own notes into these notebooks. Okay, and I would tape my notes here. So this is called condensed notes, having all your stuff in one spot. And I learned this from this guy, this friend of mine at Stanford, who was getting A+s in the most difficult classes. I'm like, wow, how'd you do that? And I just imitated him, and that was one of the things that was real helpful. Okay. And, the other thing, too, I'll tell you is to, have faith in your ability to improve. When I took my first, it was on the quarter system at Stanford, I got like all B minuses in my classes. I never took an honors class in high school. I never took an AP class in high school. I was recruited to Stanford as an athlete. But then I wanted to do well, so I started hanging around with the guy who was an A+ student and learning from him, imitating his study methods. I took a class on study skills. I started to read books on study skills, and I just got better and better. So what I'm trying to say is that's called a growth mindset. Carol Dweck at Stanford, a psychologist, sort of famous for that term, growth mindset. Realize that you can improve a lot. The point I'm trying to say is these, college professors in general, they usually stink, and they'll say, oh, you can't improve IQ. It's completely untrue. I went from being a B- student to being an A+ student, and I had the same brain. I just changed my study skills, and you can change yours too. Okay, and you got to learn how to play the game of college. Take a lighter load at first till you figure out how to get an A. If a class is difficult for you, take it in summer school. It's going to be easier. Get off track from the other pre-meds or the other red-hot pre-meds or whatever it is in your field that might make it more difficult for you. It's nice to have a friend who's taken the class first, and then you can ask them how to do well in the class. For example, when I went to med school, it was kind of overwhelming at first, but I knew the guy who had graduated, who was like best in the class a year ahead of me, so I just asked him, what do you do? And it turned out they had a co-op note system whereby the students from the previous year, the students would make a copy of the notes of the lectures, and then they would have them typed up, and they'd be printed out, and everybody could get a copy of them. If you get them for your own year, they're going to be about a week or so out of date. But if you buy them from the year before you, when most of the lectures are the same from year to year, you'll then can read those notes in advance, the night before the class even. So that's very valuable. If you're lucky enough to know an older student, ask them as many questions as you can about how to do well in the class, how to prepare for school. Okay, so that's choosing classes. Preparing for class, you want to pre-read. If it's, if you're starting class in August, pre-read in the summertime. If it's for the winter session, pre-read during the Christmas vacation. Master the prerequisites in your field, whatever they might be. What I'm saying is if you're going to pay, $20, $30, $40, $50,000 of tuition, you should take it seriously. It's going to be your employment skill, most likely, for the rest of your life. So I would take school real seriously. I was pissed off about not getting any A's my first quarter. I was afraid I was going to flunk out. And I later developed the attitude that I expect myself to be the best student in the entire room, and I don't care what room it is. And maybe that's not always possible, but because I had that attitude, I would just expect to walk into class the first day and know more than everyone else in the room. And again, if you try for that, you will be a lot better off. I sometimes had students brought to me to coach students, okay, and I'll go for a walk with them and I'll talk and we'll review whatever's in their field. If it's something I know, literature, history, or biology, molecular biology, biochemistry, whatever it is. And the students will tell me, gee, the first week of class, they knew more than everyone else in their class, because there'll be class discussions and they'd be way ahead of everybody. And I said, you should be studying like crazy so you maintain that knowledge position. And the way you could tell is because you hear all the students having conversations and you see how well they're able to keep up and understand what's going on in the class. And if you're way ahead of them, it's obvious. Okay, but by aiming for being the best possible student you could be, best in your class, you're probably at least going to get an A if you do that. What most people do is they just go, I hope I do okay, and they show up, and then they end up disappointed. All right, so visualize the benefit of learning the material. You want to think about it. Imagine yourself completing your degree, whatever it might be, to be a medical doctor, to be a veterinarian, whatever you want to be. But when you sort of envision yourself having successfully completed the goal, you feel a reward for that in your mind's eye, and it sort of motivates you, because you need to be motivated, and you need to, I also think it helps, try to see what's good about the field. I'm lucky to have a chance to learn this. I'll someday be able to help people. Most people ever since the beginning of the history of time have been farmers just trying to scratch a little food out of the dirt. They've been illiterate, so I'm lucky I get to study. I tell you all these things because you want to prepare your brain to be ready to learn well, to be motivated, and to retain the material. As long as you think the material is useful to you, your brain will want to store it long term. So that's what you want. Because if you keep learning every class, you'll keep on going up and up. Whereas if a student just studies, forgets it after the test, they drop back down, study, forget it after the test, they drop back down, they never get a bigger advantage. I always wanted to learn and someday become great, so I kept getting better and better and better. And the more time went by, the bigger advantage I had. I would get to the point, like my second year of medical school, I would just know I was the best student in the room, and that I was going to be the best student in the room, and there was no doubt about it. Okay, and you get to that point. Like in my residency, you have to be able to deal with whatever psychological peer pressure is against you, and just say, screw it. I'm here with a purpose to do as well as I can, learn as much as I can, and just go down that route. Okay. Let's see, what else? Check for other books. Want to buy the best book. A lot of times professors recommend these big, thick textbooks that aren't very good. Usually the best textbook is going to be a smaller book recommended to you by older students. Or you could search around on the internet and see what turns out to be the best book, because you want to have a good book. It helps. It'll make it easier to study. Buy at least one question book, maybe two of them, because you're going to be tested on practice questions, so be doing practice questions. Always, for any of your difficult classes, pre-read the night before. Like biochemistry, again, was kind of overwhelming for me in the beginning. So what I would do is I would sometimes read for 3 or 4 hours the night before a biochemistry class. I'd have a syllabus. I'd review the old notes if I could. I'd then have like 3 or 4 books out, look at all the cycles, for example, glycolysis or something, Krebs cycle, and I'd ask myself, what's the irreducible minimum from which I could derive the rest of this? Learn the vocabulary so you can make abbreviations for it. Then you'll be able to keep up with the notes in class. And again, your goal is to make the class lecture almost like a review. I would say to myself, how can I get more out of this class? How can I try to get a higher percent of the material the first time I see it? So by pre-reading the night before, I used to be overwhelmed, only get like about 15% understanding of a biochem lecture and then have to figure the rest out later. But then after I'd study for hours the night before, I got to the point where I could, get 80%, even 90% sometimes of the lecture, that it was just like review for me, and that made it a lot easier to learn biochemistry. And I would say to myself, like when I say get psyched up, psychologically, things I would say to myself is, biochemistry is the language of God that he uses to write the book of life. Someday I want to be a great doctor, a great scientist, so I need to learn this. And that motivation, here I am getting to learn the language of God. How lucky am I? That would help me to be motivated and to remember things better. Nowadays, you've got the internet to watch videos. Watch videos the night before of your topic, whatever it is. So when you walk in that room, you're familiar with things as much as possible. Always go to class. Always be on time. Always sit in the front row. Good habits make you a much better student. That's why it's good to live on campus, because you can just walk to class and you shouldn't miss any classes. My first year of med school, I drove to school, and that was bad because sometimes I'd be in traffic, I'd be late for my first class, I'd miss it, or I'd sleep late, and that would screw me up. I was shocked. I didn't, my first midterm in med school, I was like 10th percentile in the class, and I was so pissed off. I was like, I went all the way to Stanford and suffered and was so lonely for 4 years to be 10% in my class. No way. I was so pissed off. But I realized there were other kids, I heard them talking at lunch, talking about they had all these classes the year before in their senior year of high school, senior year of college, and I realized they just had the classes before. I hadn't taken the classes before, so they had an advantage on me. I just had to study more. But what I'm trying to say is, it's good to go to class, and it's good to live on campus. Okay, approach the class. Always sit in the front row. Take really good detailed notes. By having read the night before, you'll know the abbreviations. You'll be better able to keep up. Later on, you'll hear the teacher's voice in your head and just fill in the notes for, whatever additionally comes to you. Okay, I'm going to get now a little bit on study skills. Write in your book a lot. I'll show pictures of some of these study skills in just a moment. Write in your book a lot. Consider getting a 4-color pen. We used to call them pre-med pens. Everybody had them. Have highlighters. Whenever you do a study break, do a walk and talk. For example, if I just studied glycolysis and then I have to go to the bathroom, eat some lunch or whatever, I'm going to go lift weights or work out, I would start talking to myself. Okay, glycolysis is the metabolism, anaerobic metabolism of glucose in the cytoplasm. Glucose comes into the cell, it's phosphorylated. The phosphorylation charge prevents it from exiting out the plasma membrane. Okay, and so I would talk my way through the cycle, because if you can do that walk and talk, you can repeat everything. You have to consolidate the information and speak it, and you hear yourself speak it. That's very active involvement with the material. So that's, I think, actually the most powerful out of all the academic techniques. So you want to always do that. Like when you go to the bathroom, when you go to eat lunch, when you go to do your laundry, whatever it is, always talk to yourself and review the material in that way. Get used to the idea that you have to teach yourself. Most professors stink. They're not really interested in teaching. So you're going to have to teach yourself. Get used to it. Expect to do that. And I'd also say things to me like I heard this athlete say, if it is to be, it is up to me. So get used to shouldering the responsibility for it, and don't expect much from other people or teachers. I would talk to myself too. I'd say, I can do it, I can do it. I'm kind of like, I get that from Brian Tracy. I want to get myself psyched up, pumped up, that I can do whatever I have to do. And you want to be kind of simple. You want to simplify your life. No bullshit, okay? You never watch TV. If you have a girlfriend, fine, enjoy each other, but make sure she's good for you. If she tries to get you into bad business, like tries to get you to go out drinking or something, then just break up with her. She's bad for you. Let's see. Consider, you definitely want to make mnemonics. I'd make mnemonics of lots of things. And I would ask myself, will I remember this a week from now? Will I remember this a month from now, 3 months from now, maybe 2 years from now if the board's exam's far away? So by asking yourself that question, if you're not sure, start making more associations, make a flashcard on it, or at least have it in your condensed notes. So be thinking with the long-term goal in mind of retaining that information for at least a long amount of time, whatever is necessary. Consider using a Feynman technique, meaning a word processor or text document where you summarize the topic and you just sort of build up your notes on the subject. Now again, computers are available. Back in my day, there weren't even any computers available. Okay, have Lightner boxes for flashcards. I'll show you a picture of those. They're just little cardboard boxes. You put them in your bathroom, for example, and they get you to do spaced interval repetition, so you spend more time on the difficult material. You can have them in your living room if you got more of them. It depends on how big your living space is, how much table space you have. You might want to use Anki online flashcards. Some people like those because they'll have the Ankis on their cell phone. They'll find that convenient. It's good to have at least one smart friend that you can talk to about school stuff. And ask yourself in a fundamental sense, what is school? School is basically a memorization contest. So you want to be good at memorization. Okay, if you're not that experienced at memorization, you could watch videos about it. You could read the book by Harry Lorraine, Super Memory, Super Student. And it just means constantly begin with the long-term goal in mind. Am I going to remember this, whatever duration of time I need from now, 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, whatever it is, and use the amount of word associations or mnemonics or, familiarity with where it's located in your condensed notes to make sure you can find that material again if you need to. And walk and talks will get you good at the material, okay? When you can say every little component of glycolysis, you're not nervous about the test. You don't need an all-nighter. By the way, I never did an all-nighter. Never once in all my college or med school or residency years for studying. Never once. Because if you just study every day, I always studied every day. It was just the thing to do. You'll have the material. And if you've been doing walk and talks, you're not just hoping you remember the student. The average student hopes they remember the material when they go on a test. If you've been doing walk and talks every day, you can articulate everything. You know the material. You not only know the material, you can articulate the whole thing. And that's actually a higher level of learning. Because you think about it, imagine me working as a doctor. What happens? People come to me and say, can you help me with this patient? And I'll go, what's going on with the patient? They'll present the patient to me, and then I'll often have to look at their labs, have to look at their CAT scans and MRIs. I have to then say, well, all this information indicates this. I have to articulate it. They don't ask me to give them an answer on a Scantron test. They ask me to articulate my thoughts, to put the material together and summarize it. Okay, so you want to be in this habit. Walk and talk, trust me, it's the most powerful thing in all of studying, and you'll really improve your academic performance if you start using that. Okay, mnemonics are great. I talked about Feynman technique, Leitner boxes, Anki, recognition that it's a memorization contest. Have a portable table in your bathroom. I'll show you the magic bathroom concept. Have a good time management. Have a schedule, like a calendar, and write on there, what you expect to be doing just to some extent. Some things you can't plan that far in advance, but you should know your entire day, about what time you wake up, when you have your classes, what you need to do for each given day, but also that all of your time should be spent doing something useful. Have adequate bookshelves so you can group all your books together by topic. Here's physiology, here's pathology, here's pharmacology, here's microbiology. When you eat dinner, watch videos on your topic. So sit around at your computer, and if you got a biochemistry lecture the next day, watch biochemistry lectures. Okay? Always be focused on improving academically. Watch videos on the topic. You can use the print screen button and save a good image if you see one. Okay, now I especially made this video to talk about health habits because I think a lot of young people have problems with their health habits. Try to keep moving at least a little bit every day. Exercise more vigorously at least once a week, if not twice a week or more. It helps you to sleep better if you're exercising. It's just sort of part of being a smart person is that you exercise. Get your sleep. You want about 7 to 9 hours, probably an average of about 8 hours for most college students. Try to go to bed earlier. Usually the problem of not getting enough sleep is that you're not getting to bed early enough. Eat organic food only if you can. Whole food. Plant-based diet with no oils. Oils make people stupid. Fried food makes people stupid. Don't ever eat fried food. You don't want to waste a single IQ point. And the reason I say that is because a lot of times whether or not you get an A or a B or a C just comes down to 2 or 3 questions at the end of a whole semester. So you want to just make everything as good as it can be. So don't do anything bad for yourself. No alcohol, not one drop. No tobacco, not one puff. No MJ, not one puff. Don't ever use any recreational substance, ever. They're all bad. And there are no drugs that improve cognitive performance. All that attention deficit med stuff, those are all brain toxins. They're stimulants. They're toxins. They're like amphetamines. Don't ever use any of that stuff, okay? When you eat your food, you can boil all your starches. You should be eating starches, fruits, and vegetables. You can watch my video about the Spartan vegan diet. You don't need to you don't ever want to cook anything on nonstick cookware. You don't ever want to put your food on aluminum foil. Aluminum is a brain toxin, okay? You don't want to ever eat anything with high fructose corn syrup. It typically will contain mercury. It's a brain toxin, okay? You don't want to eat processed food. Processed food routinely has fungal inhibitors there, and they're almost always mitochondrial inhibitors or mold inhibitors. They lower IQ. So you don't want any of that stuff. Typical processed food is going to have monosodium glutamate, manufacturer-free glutamate, MFG, MSG, and they also are stimulants that can potentially lower cognitive function. You want to drink reverse osmosis water if that's possible. You don't want to be drinking tap water. It typically contains F- and Al. They're both aluminum. They're both bad for brain function. Avoid obnoxious and stupid people. They kind of drag you down to their level. So just be polite to them, nice to them, but avoid them. Don't hang around with them. You should not have a TV. TV is for stupid people. Avoid any activity with head trauma. Don't be doing anything that gives head trauma. It's going to lower your cognitive performance. Like I think soccer is a stupid sport because they hit the ball with their head. So don't do anything where you're getting hit in the head because it'll lower your IQ. Avoid things that smell bad. Anything that smells bad is usually bad for the brain. Try to simplify your life as much as possible. I don't even use shampoo. I don't use deodorant. I think that's all for conformist chumps. I mean, I don't really have much hair now. I'm an old man, but, for example, deodorants a lot of times, because spray-on deodorant's got aluminum in it. That's a brain toxin. You inhale it through your nose, goes right through your olfactory nerve, right to your brain, can cause brain damage. If something smells bad, avoid it. If they just sprayed the grass, avoid that. If people are spraying stuff on themselves for mosquitoes, avoid that. Don't ever use deodorant. It's for stupid low IQ chumps, conformity. Don't go to the dry cleaner, okay? The dry cleaner, they got real toxic chemicals there like trichloroethylene, TCE. That's bad for your brain, okay? Don't ever use any chemical that dries rapidly, goes from, let's say, a liquid to a solid, like liquid paper or paint. All of those things are potentially neurotoxic. don't go along with other college kids to do stuff just for the heck of it. Like, like there's college painters that paint houses or something for a summer job or something. Don't do that. You don't want to be inhaling paint. It could potentially lower your IQ, make you stupid. Don't inhale toxic fumes. Like, if somebody like will run their engine. I had cars. My last car lasted me 19 and a half, almost 20 years. I never once warmed it up. Okay, I see a lot of these young people. Oh, I have to warm up my car, and they'll warm up their car for like 5 or 10 minutes. I said that's fucking stupid. You don't need to do that. Okay. And so they'll say, oh, well, I have to because it's winter. No, I've used the same cars as people who've done that, and I never had to warm them up. Okay. Don't inhale car exhaust, because I see young people, they'll start their car to warm it up, and then they'll have a conversation standing behind the car inhaling that crap. That is stupid. Don't do that. Okay, don't ever inhale, especially diesel. If you see a bus coming by, a school bus, a public bus, avoid them. Hold your breath and don't breathe their toxic exhaust. And one of the stupidest things I see in a lot of Western hospitals is ambulances will park in front of an emergency room and they'll leave their engine running because it's a diesel engine. They want to do that, they say. And so they're stinking up the air in front of an emergency room. It's very common in Western hospitals, and it's stupid. Try not to get your apartment near a factory exhaust. If there's a factory spewing out toxic exhaust fumes or a coal-burning electric plant, you don't want to live there. Just get away from there. Or if there's, is a farm across the street from you where they're spewing out pollutants or using toxic pesticides and herbicides, you don't want to live there. Okay, and at the very least, put some bushes and trees up in front, get an air filter inside your house. Noise. Watch out for noise pollution. I think a lot of students degrade their performance with noise. When you're studying, you're best off having the room quiet. I'll actually a lot of times wear these ear protectors, because when I wear ear protectors, you can't get your family to be quiet a lot of times, or the dogs or something. But if you wear ear protectors, they reduce the sound like 30-something decibels. Okay, that's a lot. If you have to play a little music, maybe play some Baroque music, things like Bach, Vivaldi, Arcangelo, Corelli, Telemann. That's not so bad. The Baroque music, and just musical, instrumental, nothing with words in it. Okay, never, ever listen to beat music. It just makes people stupid. Never listen to grunge music. Anything with a boom, 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 that all just makes you stupid. The reason is, you need to have thoughts in your mind and you need to think about them. You need to let these thoughts percolate in your subconscious brain. And any noise will distract them. You can't turn your ears off. So you want quiet, okay? Quiet builds intelligence. You look at Isaac Newton when he had the miracle year where he discovered calculus, the laws of thermodynamics and physics and gravity, all this stuff in 1 year, 1665. He was just quiet by himself at a cottage in Woolsthorpe. Okay, so being quiet, you get smarter. And what I'm saying is, while it's quiet, you can just let your brain think, When you're in a car, if you have to drive somewhere, you should be doing walk and talks. And if you're not doing walk and talks, let your brain just think, okay? Sometimes I was so lonely I would collect music CDs later on, like when I was in medical school. And you got to do something for your loneliness. So I would respect it in that point. But you don't want to be seeking, and I listen to just melody music. You don't want to be doing anything that's going to distract from your ability to concentrate and think. Let's see, what else? Avoid unnecessary stress. Like don't get yourself involved in any BS that's going to pull you away from your studies or make it hard for you to sleep or distract you. Focus on your school, and that has to be the biggest priority in your life for a couple of years. Watch out for these cell phones. I see young people, they sometimes sleep with their cell phone next to your head. It's a low-power microwave transmitter. You don't want that thing near your head. You don't want a Wi-Fi router in your bedroom. You don't want one near your study desk, places where you spend a lot of time. Better to hardwire your computer than use Wi-Fi if that's possible. Choose an apartment where you don't have a big cell phone tower sitting outside your bedroom window. Consider an EMF shielding on your bed. I had a student, like one of my friends. He said, "What about?" I said, "You know what?" He was concerned about EMF, and I said, "Well, look, you could do what I do for my bed." And they go, "Oh no way." They go, "If I did that, no girl would ever be interested in sleeping with me. She would think I was crazy." I'm like, "Okay, fine, but putting an EMF. I made a separate video, but I have an EMF shield around my bed because I had EMF testers and I would test EMF all over my house and stuff, and then I'd put it on my bed and it'd be like 0. It's nice. So you have, in a sense, like an EMF sanctuary for where you sleep. You can't avoid it completely out in the real world, but it's nice to have an EMF sanctuary in your bedroom and your study area to the extent that that is possible. Okay, so that's what I kind of meant was basically you do about 20 or more things, and each one of these little things might not seem to make much of a difference, but in aggregate they all add up together and they can lead to a big improved performance in your academic performance. So you can just go through this list of things, and hopefully in so doing you can find a couple tweaks to improve your academic performance, and hopefully that'll help you.